So a lack of communication and miscommunication between departments and within the IT department of the fictional company is a big part of the Phoenix Project story. We have talked about improvements in process that are needed, but what about leadership? Explain your protagonist, Bill, who was a mid-level IT operations manager who turned out to be the ideal executive to really turn things around. And is Bill based on a real-life person? Is he for hire?
So, Bill, like many of the characters in the book, are a synthesis of many of the characters we've encountered and studied in our 14-year journey studying high performers. One of the things that we noticed back in 1999 was that if you were looking at the high performers, half of the organizations, if you looked at who was leading them, came from one of three backgrounds. They were either a non-commissioned officer in the military, they were a chemical engineer, or they were an auditor. And so the fact that Bill was a former Marine, an E5 in the military, actually represented something like 5 of the high performers we studied, and really represented their characteristics and their philosophies and beliefs. And I think what Bill also embodies is someone who manages not just a command and control way, which I think is required when you're fixing high outage scenarios, but someone who can actually create high trust management dynamics where they can be small teams who are highly empowered that don't need authorization to do everything. Instead, he trusts that the team knows what the objectives are and fully empowers them to achieve the mission. Incidentally, the two characters who work for Bill also embody two very common archetypes. So Wes is the operations director, and he is like the embodiment of the person who objects all the time. So despite the fact that we know there's a better way to do things, we can't do that because of X, Y, or Z. Whereas Patty, is the embodiment of the process zealot, right? Who seeks to find breakthroughs in whether it's ITIL, ISO 27001, and even DevOps, right? It takes a village to create the breakthroughs that are described in the Phoenix Project.